Okay. I'll call this meeting to order at 7:09. And who's my victim tonight? Jody, you haven't done it in a while.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I remind the board that when you speak, and the audience, when you speak, you need to speak directly into the mic so that everybody can hear you. When I ask for citizens' comments, please come up to the mic and speak directly into the mic. Okay, Chairman's comments, update. I want to thank everybody in town for a successful community day. The school, the students from the school and the Alumni Association acquitted themselves very nicely. It was a great display and had a wonderful booth. The chorus and the band were wonderful. We could do with a better sound system, I think, but that'll happen in the future, I'm sure. Also, I want to remind the public, both here in the citizens of Thompson here in the auditorium, and those of you who have joined us on Zoom, that Thursday night at 6 o'clock at the Thompson Speedway, it's candidates night. It's the debate, Thompson Together, a non-political group. We'll have the candidates that are running for office do a debate. It starts at 6 o'clock. It's at the Thompson Speedway restaurant. So if you're interested, join them there. There'll be refreshments. And you will get to meet the candidates and hear the platforms that they stand for. Okay. That's basically all I have to say tonight. The next item on our agenda is citizens' comments. Oh, okay. Well, I was going to do that at the end. Okay. All right. Citizens' comments, they're limited to 3 minutes. Okay. Thank you. And state your name, your address for our secretary, please.
Sure. David Dalpy, 2 Vernon Lane.
Mhm.
I don't know if the board's aware of the homecoming dance coming this Friday for the high school. There's a lot of questions I have that are just, they're not making sense to me. It's not adding up. It's outside, and it's bad enough it's in October and the girls got to wear these dresses and stuff in October. And I just don't know why there's a mask mandate outside to dance. When I see, I don't know who makes the call on that. Is it the advisor? Is it the principal? Is it the superintendent? Is the board even aware this is going on? And I don't want to take that sarcastically, but it's frustrating because I can watch the Red Sox. I can watch 40,000 people cheering, jumping all over each other, but you can't have 80 kids. They're not going to be in a mosh pit. You can't have 8. You're going to ruin they've been stuck for 2 years now, and they'll give me another 3rd year. You already got them outside. And this, what I read on a state website was there's no mask mandate outside. It was indoors for schools. There's a mask mandate. Because, and another point, I got to make this quick, and I'm sorry I'm rambling. This weekend, they had an egg hunt at the elementary school. No masks. You can look on Facebook. That was okay? Did they take their temperature for all the kids that went in? And all the parents? No. But we're gonna hold the high school kids hostage? Are you kidding me? I don't get it. These kids aren't vaccinated in the elementary. My daughter got vaccinated. She got coerced into this. Let's get vaccinated. It'll be great. She got screwed since then. She got to wear a mask everywhere she goes. But you can have 100,000 kids at a college football game on top of each other, and that's okay. And I understand some states are more liberal than others, and this is a liberal state. I get that. But it's going on. You think UConn, the football games, they all got masks on? You think our Pride games, they all got masks on? I got pictures of people in the stands at the Pride game with no masks. The people making calls. That's hypocrisy. It's unacceptable. I'm sorry. I don't know if you guys are aware. I reached out to a couple of board members and they weren't really aware. I get, well, we're not in charge of day-to-day operations. Who is? The superintendent makes the call? Is it fair to see, shouldn't you be more transparent? That's a big event, homecoming. This isn't a big school. This isn't a school with 2,000 kids. Homecoming is a big event. Maybe it's not a big event to you guys, but it's a big event to my daughter and to the kids in the school. What else? So that was my other question was, what is the state mandate? Am I correct on that? Am I speaking on a turn? And if you can't answer it now, I respect that. But I like, the dance is this Friday. I don't know what we're so afraid of. I'm signing the waiver for my daughter to go. If it happens, it happens. So be it. My mother died of cancer. Am I outside of a cigarette shop saying, no, don't sell cigarettes no more? You follow me? I mean, you can't run scared. I'm sorry. It's been 2.5 years. You got her vaccine. I would never put that in her if I knew she was never going to get anything out of this. I didn't think she'd have to be suffocated. What's the mental? Everybody worries about down the line. I saw in Connecticut, there was 4 kids from 10 to 19 that died of this virus. 4.
Okay, time's up, sir, and we do appreciate your comments,
Thank you.
and we have heard you.
Hi, Lauren Langlois, live at 369 Lowell Davis Road. Just so you know, I'm nervous. I don't like speaking like this, but first I want to say I'm thankful for the opportunity to work here for the last 9 years. And I'm going to cry, I'm sorry. I've been blessed to teach so many kids and some of your kids included, and I've enjoyed it immensely. I've had the opportunity to plan many nature's classroom trips, which has always been my favorite week of the school year. And I'll always cherish the relationships I built with my students. It was a really hard decision to put in my resignation, and I'm really upset that it came to that. I know you're not responsible for the executive order, but you are responsible for following it. To me, this executive order is discrimination, plain and simple. To put conditions that only apply to some people, even though COVID can still infect all people and can still be spread by all people, is unfair and discriminatory. The reason I refused to comply with the order and why I felt forced to resign from my position was because of this. I did not want to leave my position, but I could not participate in testing and quarantines and pretend like I didn't feel like it was discriminating against me or pressuring me into making decisions I was not comfortable with. Another reason I chose to resign was treatment as a staff member. Sean brought it up last week and it mirrored exactly how I was feeling. When it came to vaccination, you provided 2 free clinics, made those days half days, so teachers didn't have to use sick time, and even made a district-wide distance learning day after the second clinic. So teachers who were vaccinated, again, didn't have to use sick time. But for those unvaccinated, we were told to get tested on our own time and dime, and that is now a condition of employment. First, I never signed anything of the sort, and this feels like a breach of contract. And second, if it's a condition of employment, I feel you should be providing it. You provided the vaccinations, so you should be providing the tests. The last thing that made me resign was what you spoke of last Thursday at the Board of Ed meeting. To listen to you spill out private medical information in a public forum was outrageous. It didn't matter that no names were shared. It was still private information that did not need to be shared so publicly. We would never do that for other information like what staff smokes or they use anxiety meds or who has cancer. So why is it okay in this situation? The fact that you went so far as to share who was testing, who was exempt, and who was refusing was enraging. You even went as far to share what types of staff members were refusing. That information alone is enough for people to put pieces together and figure out someone's medical status as they're fired or resigned. You have no right to share that. And frankly, doing so in a public way made it feel like another form of pressure or to conform. I can understand if the board felt they needed to know that information, but it should have been shared in an executive board setting, not a public setting. And this was the final thing that sealed my fate to resign. I was enraged. I worked hard for my students here for 9 years, but what feels like discrimination from this order and your treatment of me and other staff members in the last few months has forced me to leave a position I love because I will not be treated in a way I don't deserve. I hope you take into consideration the things I've shared and you make better decisions for your staff and students. So thank you.
Are there any other citizens' comments? For those of you who are joining us on Zoom, there is a reaction button on the lower on the bottom of your screen, and we will recognize you if you raise your hand. There's a raise hand icon, and you need to raise your hand to be recognized. Okay. All right, moving on. We do a student spotlight for the high school and the high school liaison report. So student spotlight, please.
Each month, Turtle Lot Memorial High School Student Spotlight Program recognizes a student who has demonstrated outstanding achievement, character, leadership, attitude, and/or contributes to the school and community. October's Student Spotlight honoree is senior Braden Akana. Braden was nominated by his peers, Michaela Vandy and Leah Demers. In Braden's nomination, Michaela stated, "Braden has always had a positive attitude towards everything and is always putting a smile on everyone's faces." Leah shared, "Braden is always smiling and is kind to everyone. He is always willing to help with whatever he can." When speaking to other students at TMHS, Jimmy DeNoia mentioned, "Braden is a great person all around. He's a hard worker. He's the kind of student many people strive to be." Kyle Busha said, "Braden always tries to make everyone feel included." Joseph Poplawski stated, "Braden is a good friend. Wherever I see him in the hallway, he's always smiling." Jonathan Ferraro said, "Braden is such a good person because he always puts effort into everything he does in life and school, no matter how hard the task is. While doing this, he shows kindness to everyone he talks to, even if he's never met you. Braden is a great person to represent Turtle Lot because he represents the person the school wants you to become." About his friendly nature, Braden says, "I try to make as many people smile as possible in order to spread happiness because I feel that can collectively impact people day to day. Besides being an excellent student, Braden is a member of the TMHS baseball team. Outside of school, Braden plays for the Tri-Town American Legion baseball team. He's also volunteered for the Northeast Opportunities for Wellness at their baseball clinic. Braden's accomplishments include becoming zone champs in Tri-Town American Legion, getting the Above and Beyond Award in mathematics for excellent effort and attitude, and making the varsity team for baseball at Holy Name his freshman year." About his future, Braden states, "I have all sorts of plans and ideas for my future, and plans also change. Right now, I'm trying to come to a decision about what I'm going to do. It would be nice if I could become a game warden officer later on in life, but there are also plenty of paths I could go down." Finally, Braden's message to his school and community is, "I know people hear it all the time, but do not ever give up and work hard. In school and outside of school, it all pays off. And always keep your head up because the happier you are, the smoother life goes and the better food tastes." All right, I'd like to now call Braden up so he can receive his frame spotlight.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Evan Antonson. This is Zainab Ajoun besides me, and we're going to be doing the Board of Ed Student Liaison Report. Just some current events for the month of October. This Friday upcoming is the homecoming dance with a rain date of the 16th. Homelessness Awareness is going on October 22nd. Tomorrow, the 13th, we have the first leadership team in-service meeting, as well as the PSATs for the junior class. On the 14th, we have the TEAG Assembly coming here for the local homelessness and poverty. On the 15th, we have the TMHS Promotion Assembly to the 8th grade. The 21st is Parent-Teacher Conferences and Expo Night in the high school. On the 22nd is Homelessness Awareness Night. And Spirit Week is October 25th to the 29th. And just to refresh, since this is the beginning of the school year, student voice forums are when members of the Turtle Lot community have the opportunity to express their concerns and ideas by filling out forms. These forms are collected by the advisors and administration and then discussed with the student council at monthly meetings. These issues that were raised during September and October are summarized below. On intercession, students conveyed a variety of feelings regarding intercession. Some students expressed feelings of stress due to the rigor of their advanced courses, while others articulated that they were glad to have the opportunity to take courses that are no longer regularly offered or new courses offered. Regarding mental health, the initial form that was received discussed concern over the stigma around mental health issues in the school community. The student council agreed with the content within the voice form, and several students suggested organizing assemblies and making more of an effort to inform the community on such matters. And on xenophobia, the student council received a student voice form indicating that some students have been seeing their peers engage in insensitive behaviors and use racial and homophobic slurs during school. The student council unanimously agreed that this was a pressing issue within the school, and several members suggested that we make more of an effort to educate the student body on matters regarding race and sexuality. It was also suggested that the teachers report students who they see partaking in this kind of behavior. The advisors expressed that the teachers are very interested in students reporting to them any such behavior and/or expressions of discrimination.
Additionally, we received a voice form about dress code. A student voice form was written about girls being targeted by staff for dress code violations because of their choice in clothing. The author felt as though there was some discrimination happening towards certain girls because of the way they look. Once again, the student council echoed this sentiment, but added that there should be some standard of decency required within a school because of the majority of students are still minors. And the school system has an interest in educating students on how to dress in a professional setting. The final voice form we have for the night is regarding cell phones. A few students submitted a voice form requesting that we be allowed to use our phones during study hall. They emphasize that sometimes they're left with free time on their hands once they complete their work and would enjoy the time to go on their phone for some downtime. The student council agreed that the no phone rule has been a little difficult to adjust to, but overall has not been completely detrimental. And I guess us as liaisons, we have a question for the board, and we'd like to know if any of you would like to see our role as liaison expand in any way.
Anybody want to answer that? I mean, do we want to see their role as the liaison stand? Yes, Tom.
I think that's a very good question of how you can take the liaison role and expand. Kind of just caught me off guard, but I think it's something that we should talk about as a board. I know when my daughter was the board liaison, she said, you know, it just gets a little mundane reporting back on certain things, but what other roles could that evolve into? So I think it's a great question. It's something that we should bring up, and maybe we have some goals set for the liaisons as well, or tasks.
Something. Yeah, I like you said, it caught us off guard. I don't know, and give us some examples as to what you would have it expanded to. What would you, you're reporting to us on your activities for the month, doing the student spotlight for us. What else would you, I mean, what would you want to do for, bring to us? What are the examples that you can give us?
You know, I would really think that's up to you guys, because we serve the purpose to speak for the student body. And I think it would be the most beneficial to fulfill our roles if you were to tell us additional things that you want to know, you know, maybe elaborate on what's going on in the school community rather than giving you a list of what's going on for the entire month. Really just small things like that, that would make our report more fulfilling for you guys to hear.
Kathleen.
That's good. Yes.
So both of you, oh, sorry. Both of you students are in the high school, correct? You know what I think might be something to look at is seeing if maybe an eighth grader. We've talked about this in the past about having somebody from the middle school. That may be a good role for the two of you, or for some of the high school students, to take an eighth grader, you know, where somebody may have potential. So then next year they'll be able to slip in your spot and it's not so much a shock. I really appreciate and look forward to your, you know, your list every month, and I do agree that maybe we should look at other things too. Thank you.
Thank you.
John?
Interesting, because Donna and I usually think very similar. That's exactly what I was thinking, to expand maybe to all the lower grades, not necessarily have a third grader up here, but maybe you could have one or two things that you talk about in the elementary as well, because
Yeah.
technically you're school liaisons. It's always just been the high school. I've never thought about it until now, but it's possible. So yeah, I think it's definitely something we could talk about, and I hate to go back to committee again, but it's something that maybe in one of our committees, we could say, hey, maybe this is their charge.
And I think part of the leadership role that you have would benefit, somebody in the middle school and somebody in the elementary. We have peer models. I forgot, it's been so long in elementary. But I think it's a great thing that you guys do. And I think that, bringing the younger kids up, it'll be very helpful. Thank you.
So in the instance that we were to implement something like that, would you see it as more beneficial for us to communicate directly with like middle schoolers ourselves, or maybe communicate with administration to get their events in our report?
Thank you.
No, I think you were asking a question though, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I-
I think it'd be one and probably do both. I would talk with the administration, obviously, to coordinate that through, but I mean, I can see them all shaking their head. So it's a great idea.
And I know at the middle school, there's a student council. So Mrs. Grow is the facilitator for the student council. That's a group of students that are naturally leading things at the middle school. And Larry, I don't know if you have student governance at Mary R. Fisher, but you might be able to think of a forum that the high school students could work with, maybe a fourth grader, to come to the board meeting and provide highlights.
Or peer model.
All right, thank you. We look forward to hearing back.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is approval of the minutes for our September 13th meeting. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we approve the September 13th, 2021 regular meeting minutes.
I second that. Donna?
Donna? Okay, there's a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion on the minutes? Yes, Tom?
I know it says that I was absent, but I think I was here for that meeting.
No, you weren't. You were here?
Yeah, I don't, oh, no, you know what? I'm sorry. I was not. I was in Florida. I apologize.
All right.
Good job, Danielle. I abstain.
I didn't miss you.
You did or didn't?
You were here.
No, I was in
No,
Florida.
you weren't. I didn't miss you.
Yeah,
You were here for the special meeting.
right.
Right, okay. Okay.
Take a vote.
Take a vote. Hearing no discussion, I will, we'll now bring the matter to a vote. All in favor of accepting the minutes for the Monday, September 13th, 2021 minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Okay, minutes pass. Any subcommittees reporting? No, but we do need to have a policy subcommittee. We need to set up a policy subcommittee. Do we want to wait till after the election though? Till I set up a new policy subcommittee? Or till if there is a new chairman, sets up a new policy subcommittee? All right, but just don't let anybody forget. We need to set up a new policy subcommittees. You do have to have a policy meeting.
Kathleen, with that being said, with the elections coming up, new Board of Ed members coming in, there needs to be some elections for certain places as far as the secretary as well.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, so then I'll turn it over to Superintendent Smith to give us the enrollment report.
If I could ask permission of the board to move the Vision to Learn presentation up first.
Sure.
And do that first. I am proud to I acknowledge Sabrina Davis from Vision to Learn. Just to give the board members and the audience a background, we have a quarterly alliance meeting with all the other districts in the state that are designated alliance districts. And several of those districts have engaged with Vision to Learn to bring in a vision program to their communities, primarily to reduce or remove any kind of vision deficiencies with our students as a barrier to learning. And so I invited Sabrina Davis here this evening, and I believe she has a colleague with her to go over the program. And then if the board feels it's a valuable program, I would like to move forward to amend one of our federal grants to cover our portion of the cost of this program. But I'm going to turn it over to Sabrina and have her go over the program for Vision to Learn.
Thank you, Superintendent Smith, and thank you, board, for allowing us to have a few minutes here in this board meeting. We'll promise to be very quick and efficient. As Superintendent Smith mentioned, my colleague Ralph Barbagallo is here as well. If we could unmute Ralph. Ralph and I will both give this brief presentation and hope to answer any questions that you all may have. So I'll start out here, and then Ralph will jump in and do some presenting as well. So we are Vision to Learn, and I'll give an overview here. And like I said, hope to be very efficient in this presentation. So our agenda for today, I'm going to give you the bottom line up front so as not to lose you right at the beginning. And then we'll go into introductions, a program overview, and then the pitch for Thompson Public Schools before we close. So
Sabrina,
the bottom line, oh yes, go ahead.
Bryce, I don't know if you could do something about the audio, but it is soft, so the members can't hear.
Oops, I'll also turn up my audio. Let me see. Is that sounding any better?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Yes, so I'll just go through the agenda real quick again. So bottom line up front, introduction, program overview, and then the pitch for Thompson Public Schools. And then I'll close and leave my contact information for you all. So the bottom line, Vision to Learn is a national mobile vision care program that is free of charge to students and families. We are launching here in Connecticut this school year, and we estimate that it'll cost about $30,000 to serve all of Thompson Public School students with free eye exams and free eyeglasses. So that is the bottom line, and I'll go into further detail about how we got into that figure in a little bit. So first, we'll start out with introduction. So I am Sabrina Davis. I am the program manager for Vision to Learn Connecticut. I'm a Connecticut girl, born and raised here. Actually went to school at Wyndham Public Schools, not too far from you all. And I actually worked at Eastford Public Schools as a paraprofessional a couple years back. So very familiar with the area. That is my neck of the woods up there. I received my bachelor's degree in social work from Eastern Connecticut State University. And I also have my master's in public policy from Duke University. My background is in state and local government and in social services. And now I'll introduce or have my colleague introduce himself. Ralph, hopefully you're unmuted so you can take it away from here.
Yes, I'm unmuted. Thank you, Sabrina. Superintendent Smith and board, thank you for having us on. My name is Ralph Barbagallo. I'm a Connecticut licensed optician with Vision to Learn. I was born in Italy and raised in New Britain and Plainville and went through the public school system like most of us did. I've been a licensed optician since 1993. I'm American Board of Opticians certified as well as contact lens certified. I've been in the optical field for 35 years, and I've also managed a national optical chain for many years. I'm very excited to bring this program to Thompson. I think it will definitely work well.
Thank you, Ralph. And we'll continue on into the program overview. So I'll give some national context first before giving Connecticut specific context. So we are a national nonprofit, as I mentioned, and we currently operate in 14 regions throughout the country. We provide free school-based mobile vision care services to children in underserved communities. We are a public-private partnership nationally, meaning that we get public funding from Medicaid reimbursement, and we also do fundraising from private funders and philanthropic funders. Some numbers for the number of folks, we have served about 1.2 million vision screenings to date. We've conducted over 300,000 eye exams, and over 250,000 eyeglasses have been dispensed for our program. And we recently have new research that backs up the program. So we recently published a study with Johns Hopkins University Wilmer Eye Institute that I believe I shared with Superintendent Smith, and happy to share with you all as the board. And this study is really a landmark study that shows the impact of providing free glasses to children in Baltimore. So roughly speaking, on average, the students who were in special education and the students who scored in the bottom quartile for their standardized testing saw about 4 to 6 months of educational gains simply from receiving free eyeglasses. So this study really does a great job of highlighting the impact that we have, and we're really excited to bring this program to Connecticut, as I mentioned. And here for some Connecticut specific information, we are launching currently, this is our first year in operation. We, like I said, operate nationally, and we're really excited to bring this here to Connecticut. Our goal, of course, is to provide glasses to every student who needs them. We are, of course, following all the COVID protocols, meaning that all of our staff are vaccinated, everyone will be masked, and all will follow the social distancing guidelines and any other COVID restrictions that are in place. We utilize all licensed opticians and optometrists. So Ralph just gave his intro. He's a licensed optician, and we will work with licensed doctors as well. This first year, we will be running the program through private funding as our primary source. And then in subsequent years, we hope to credential as a Medicaid fee-for-service provider and receive Medicaid reimbursement in addition to private funding and any funding from school districts we work with. We operate on an opt-out basis, meaning that we are operating under the assumption of implied consent unless we hear explicitly from a parent, from a child's family, that they do not want to be a part of our program. So we send home opt-out forms, and again, if we don't receive that form back from the student's family, we operate on the basis that they are okay with the program and that they are okay to be served. Our key partners in the state are the University of Connecticut and Dalio Philanthropies. And I'll turn it over to Ralph, who will give a really good overview of our program, kind of start to finish. So Ralph, take it away.
Excellent. So what the program brings to the school is we start off with a vision screening. We vision screen every child that is in the opt-out part of it. So we'll go ahead and screen all the kids. And usually we can screen a school of 250 kids. It's usually about a half a day, 2 to 3 hours. And we have keywords that we will use, and we will work with the nurse and the teacher in the classroom to have them record our findings. We use a Welch Allen spot checker. And what that is an instrument that gives us a really fine prescription on what the student will need for either glasses or not need glasses. So it's a great instrument. In the past, we've used the Snellen charts. The teachers have, I mean, the nurses have, but we use this spot checker, and it works really, really well. Once we find out at that point, the kids that do need glasses, we schedule with the school another visit where we actually bring the clinic back, and the clinic has the eye doctor and the optical lane in it, where we're able to examine the child. We're also able to pick frames out, take measurements, and then at that point, we will be back in about 2 to 3 weeks with the glasses, and we'll go ahead and dispense them for the kids. The great thing about the program is it isn't only from vision screening to glasses, but it's also from vision screening to beyond glasses. If for some reason the child breaks the glasses, they simply contact Vision to Learn, and we would be more than happy to supply them with another pair in the year if needed. So it really works really well. We cover all the bases.
Thank you, Ralph. Some more information on the Connecticut program. So right now we're currently planning out our first 3 years of operations. So far we have partnerships with 4 school districts throughout the state. All of them are alliance districts, as Superintendent Smith mentioned. we are targeting alliance districts to serve the students most in need here in our first few years. And now we're at a really good window of opportunity, as we say in the policy world, in that districts have received ESSER funding through the American Rescue Plan. And this is a great way to use ESSER funding to provide free vision services to children who need them. And now we'll move on to the pitch for Thompson Public Schools. So bottom line up front, we estimate it's going to cost about $30,000 to serve every student in Thompson Public Schools. So the rough math, which I'll break down a little bit more, is that we estimate there are about 235 students who need eye exams, and our costs are $125 per exam. So you multiply those two together and you get to about $30,000. So what that means is that there's approximately 940 students in the school district, I believe. So we will screen all of those using that mobile spot checker. And we estimate that about 25% of the kids that we screen will need a follow-up eye exam. And so that would be about 235 students. 235 times 125, again, gets you to that 30K. Of those 235 students, we think about 80% of them will need glasses. So about 188 of those 235 will need glasses. And we would, of course, have the student select their glasses and then return to then fit the glasses to their face and provide them with any information that goes home with them to the parents. As Ralph mentioned, if they break the glasses or lose them in the first year, they just go online and I'll get a form, or they'll get a form that they have to complete and it'll get sent to my inbox. And then we are happy to ship out another pair to the family. So this is the rough cost breakdown. And then we are happy to send this in a more formal proposal, but this is the kind of quick and dirty version of what the numbers look like.
And Sabrina, I know that you talked to me about if I could reallocate $20,000, that you are looking for the rest of the funding from your donors.
That's correct, Superintendent. So right on the money. So what would it take to get started? So we would need a signed MOU with the school district, of which I'm happy to send over a template of what that looks like. And we would need secured funding. So as Superintendent Smith mentioned, we are able to fundraise through our private funders, hopefully to make up the difference for whatever the school district can provide. So if it's $20,000 that Thompson can provide, we will do our best to find the other $10,000 through private fundraising and philanthropic endeavors to serve the whole district. So that is our ideal scenario to serve every student in every district. I do want to mention another alternative to whole district services to do part of the district. So as you'll see on the screen, we are able to kind of parse out the different students based on funding and capacity. So if we were to serve Mary R. Fisher Elementary, for example, I estimate there's about 423 students based on data from the National Center for Education Statistics. So that would cost us about $13,000. Likewise for Thompson Middle School, it would be about $10,000, and then for the high school, about $7,000. So based on what we're able to put together for funding, we're able to do partial district service if that's of interest to the school district. Again, ideal scenario to serve every child, but we're happy to make do with serving some students and then hopefully revisiting the others. And just as a general context for us, we like to start out with the younger children. So we probably start out with elementary because those are their formative years. They're learning to read. So we do envision starting out with the younger kids if possible. So that's just an alternative if we aren't able to come up with whole district funding, which is our ideal scenario. And I think that is all. So this is my contact information. Superintendent Smith has this. I'm happy to share this deck and to share any other information that is helpful. I'm not sure if we have time for questions. I know you probably have a stacked agenda, but I'm happy to connect with anyone offline as well.
Jody, you have a question?
I just have a couple of questions. Are the glasses included in the 125 exam?
They are. So that 125 includes the cost for us to do the exam and then also for the glasses themselves.
Are you going to screen children who already have glasses?
I'm glad you asked. So students who have glasses will automatically get an exam. So we will automatically come back and do the exam for those kids.
And what about the students who are covered under parents' insurance? Does that matter?
For our purposes, that only matters if it's Medicaid funding in subsequent years. So for this initial year, we are agnostic to insurance, and going forward, if the child is covered under Medicaid, we would like to reimburse, we would like to bill Medicaid to get reimbursement. But if the child is under another plan, that doesn't matter to us. We'll give them classes either way.
Thank you.
Yes, Sean.
You said that it could be done school to school, but could it also be done need-based? If there was a way for us to determine, we've got 400 kids that, let's say, don't have insurance, have the need base, could it be broken up that way? Or
Yeah,
would
so
it have to be by school?
So I'll address a few things. So I want to make clear that we provide these services to children regardless of their insurance status. So we, for the most part, with Medicaid being the only caveat, we do not, interface with any insurance, and will provide free services to all children. The only instances where we interface with insurance is with Medicaid. So in subsequent years, not this first school year, but in years to come, we will be billing Medicaid for these services. But again, even if the student's family has used their, eye exam for the year, we still will provide them with free glasses and free eye exams. So for the most part, we do not care about the insurance. It's only when we get to Medicaid in subsequent years that we would like to bill for reimbursement. And to the larger question, yes, we're happy to divide and conquer, so to speak, in any way that makes sense. So if it's that there are some students in the high school that are high need that we would like to serve first, we're happy to do that. We tend to start out with the elementary kids, as I mentioned, just because those are formative years, and we'd like to get them glasses as soon as possible. But if there are other configurations that make more sense for Thompson, we're happy to look into that as well.
I think some of the things that we've seen when we've done our just general vision screening is we make recommendations to the family to follow through with their own optician, and then the follow through at that end doesn't happen. And very often we know that the kids have vision issues, but the families either can't afford it, or I don't know, lack of transportation or lack of insurance, and then it doesn't get followed through. And Sabrina, you didn't mention, but I think with the more, we're reading more and more studies, with the more screen time that students have had, it's starting to have a negative impact on their vision. And so the reason I brought this forward this year is that for the past almost 2 years now, our students have been looking at computer screens, and we don't know the damage that has happened visually for our students. And what we're trying to do is remove that barrier and make sure that everybody can see. And if they can't see, that we provide glasses for those students. So it's kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity, knowing that 4 other Alliance districts did already pilot the program and have already implemented it. And we got positive feedback from those superintendents at the last meeting. So I thought I'd bring it to Thompson because we do have almost 50% poverty rate in the district. And we want to make sure that everybody has an equal opportunity to access the curriculum.
Tom, you wanted to be recognized.
Sabrina and Paul, thank you very much. It was a very nice presentation. One of the questions that I have is, I'm assuming that this is not a full in-depth eye exam, or maybe it is. To what extent are you checking also for glaucoma, or are you checking also for, will there be eye dilation for in-depth exam, or to what extent does that go?
Thank you for that great question. If we could unmute Ralph, Ralph will be able to answer that for us.
Excellent question. The eye exam it's a complete comprehensive eye exam minus the dilation. We do check the back of the retina. We do, if the doctor feels that he sees or she sees something that needs further follow-up, we do referrals. Yes, it's a complete eye exam. comprehensive eye exam that you would get at your optometrist. Your local optometrist would give you the same eye exam that we would give you. We use a phoropter. We tune in the prescription exactly to the best visual acuity. We use all of the latest and greatest instruments to do that. So they're getting a very comprehensive eye exam from an optometrist, from a doctor that actually went to school to prescribe glasses, as opposed to an ophthalmologist.
Thank you.
Kathleen?
Thank you, Ralph. Oops, I'll just mention one quick thing that slipped me to mention, but it's very important. Some districts that we're working with are using our vision screening to supplement the mandated screenings from the state of Connecticut. So I did want to mention this could be a nice way to perhaps alleviate the workload for school nurses in Thompson.
Bill?
My concern is, first, I want to say it sounds like a very worthwhile thing and very important. And it's easy this year because we have ESSER funds. How do we budget going forward? Because those funds are not always going to be there. Is it just a select, the new grades coming in every year? How do we keep this thing going? Because in a district like ours, an Alliance district with a high poverty rate, we have a difficult time passing budgets. So how do we keep this going?
Right.
That's a very good question, and one that one of the districts that we are having conversation with is also thinking about as well, the sustainability of the program. I will note that the 30,000 estimate that I provided is to serve the whole district, and we typically will visit a whole district every other year. So if we visit Thompson this school year, we won't come back for another 2 years. So I'll just throw that out there. But it is a great question that a lot of districts seem to be thinking about, as well as the longevity of the program.
Yeah, I think we need to keep track of who we examined that year, and then those new students that come in, when they come back, then we test those kids. And so I would imagine the outlay would drop dramatically. But the first year of outlay, I think, is probably the hardest nut to crack because we're screening everybody.
Right.
I hear you. I hear you. And that is a budget buster. We do still have Alliance dollars coming in for the next couple of years. This year it's spoken for, but for next year, we haven't budgeted that money. And so maybe we put money aside to make sure that we can continue it while we're still under the umbrella of Alliance.
Okay, yes, Donna.
I just had a question regarding, the 3 schools, elementary to high school. Now, would that include the preschools, age group? Like what age group are we looking at? And as far as like high school, that we have to take care of some students that are the transition, would that include them as well? If it was.
Are you saying the preschool?
Preschool.
Yeah, that's
and
included in the numbers that they're showing for Mary R. Fisher.
And the transition, like the older. Yes, thank you.
So I'll jump in here. So I currently have the preschool and the 423 students for Mary R. Fisher, but I'm glad you raised that point. We typically do not screen our preschool children. I have that in there because I wasn't sure how to parse out the K through 4, but we typically do not screen our pre-K children. And Ralph, if you wanted to answer a little bit more about the medical side of it, please go ahead.
Yeah, so the preschool children, it's hard to get them. It's hard to get an exact prescription because you need to dilate the pupil in most instances because the child has an issue with the communication part of it. So we start with K through 12 and beyond. So the preschool would not be eligible for this program.
Thank you.
So we would need to back out the number of preschoolers from that 423.
Yes.
That's right. And if you send me those numbers, I'm happy to do that and to come up with a better estimate.
It'll be a lower number.
And I can actually tell you that we have 45 preschoolers that would be backed out of that number.
Okay. 45 times 125, so.
No.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Just a comment about one of the
45 times 125.
No.
One of the benefits
80%.
that I see with this program.
All of that is.
Is he
I'm
talking?
able to hear. I think it was a little muffled.
Okay.
All right. One of the benefits I'm seeing is I recently tried to get an eye exam and I'm out into either December or next March.
Yeah.
So to be able to get all these kids an eye exam together, I think it's great.
So I agree. It's a real beneficial program. I see it's a great program. Yes, Donna?
I just have one more thing, especially because, ophthalmology is like, not a normal insurance. It's an extra add-on. You know what I mean? A lot of our parents in our district probably don't have that option. So I think our students would benefit from this.
Any other comments from the board?
I've got a couple, but we don't need her for us.
So Sabrina, we thank you for coming. The board will discuss it and I'll get back to you this week.
Thank you all. And here's my contact information again. Please reach out if I can provide any other information, and we look forward to hearing from you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Smith.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
So Kathleen,
Yes.
I had three things, but we didn't need to keep her for it. One, I know Lions Club already does something with vision, correct?
They come in and they do our screening every year. So we
Okay.
would need to talk to them and let them know for this school year that we are going to do this other comprehensive evaluation.
So we wouldn't be using them for that anymore.
This year, for sure.
Okay. And then obviously we have the ability to move money in the grant.
Correct. I can amend the grant and move the money around. When we initially had this conversation and she gave me the figure, I said, I can only move around about 20,000. And she said, okay, we'll come up with a matching from their private funders for the other 10.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I was at, because that was about what I could move around.
And then the third thing, we did touch on it with her, but do we have a way to determine need-based? Would we, because like they said, let's just say out of 940 kids, let's say 150 have glasses because their parents have good health, well, we wouldn't have to include them. In other words, moving forward in a way to save money, could it be done on a need basis?
And I'm wondering, with Donna's a feedback that, even though people have medical coverage, they might not have the vision rider. So we don't know. But I guess obviously everything comes down to parent permission anyway, right? So we could certainly reach out and say, we have this program. Obviously, if you don't need to participate in it, then you don't need to participate in it. But I think the goal is to catch some of these students that we're never going to know, or when we give the referral and say that they failed our vision screening, what happens next?
Right.
And I think Shannon can tell me that a lot of the follow through very often doesn't happen.
And I agree, but again, like we said, it's like we always talk about grant stuff, legacy funding.
I agree.
And so maybe there's another way to deal with that.
To control the cost there.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm excited that they're coming with an optician and the optician's going to do a full examination.
If this happens, if we go through with it, can they do, how quickly? I didn't catch that. Could they do it immediately? Is this in
Yes.
a couple of months? Is this?
I think we're going to get right on the docket because we jumped in right away. I had learned about this in the summer, but I was skeptical because I hadn't heard any superintendents use it. But since those 4 superintendents spoke so highly of it at the last meeting, which was held 2 weeks ago, I feel like, especially Vernon, they really embraced the program district-wide and have done a great job with it and are very excited over the fact that many students received glasses and they were able to use grant funding, move grant funding around the same way. Because that was my question. How did you cover it? And then what are you going to do down the road? And they were going to look at their alliance dollars down the road to keep it going. But she said they come back every 2 years. So there'll be a window of time there that we can figure that out with grant funds. And they're going to continue to fundraise. So.
Great. Do you need a vote? So what's the next step on that?
I just need permission from the board to move forward.
A vote or consensus?
I don't know.
I would just direct the superintendent to go forward and get all the information.
He said to direct the superintendent to move forward with all the information. We will. Okay, so enrollment, we submitted our October, I think Friday, Heather's not here this evening, but Friday we submit our October 1 report. And the numbers that we are submitting for a total enrollment is 935 students district-wide. That is down 5 students from last month. At Mary R. Fisher, one student withdrew. There's been 7 registrations and 10 withdrawals. So that's where those numbers come from. We increased at the middle school by 2 students, and we decreased at the high school by 6 students. And as far as out-of-district placement, Mr. Jones is ill today, or he would be giving this report. He has 28 out-of-district students at this time. There's a couple of additional pending. And then just to bring some perspective, we have 10 more students than we did at the end of, pardon me, as far as homeschool students, we ended the school year with 57 students homeschooled. And in our October numbers, it's at 67. So we have 10 more homeschool students over last year. And that's the enrollment report. Okay.
Melinda,
Yeah,
discontinued school. What is that?
that means they withdrew of age.
Of age?
So at 17, they can discontinue school.
That's with parent consent, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And I know Nate, Dr. Mayo is working on that with his team because his goal, as far as his goal for this year is to improve the graduation rate and dropout rate. And so he's seriously looking at ways to support students to remain in school and get a diploma. And he's come up with some really creative ways to look at some of the platforms that we've gotten free from the state, like Apex Learning, so that he can close the course credit gap that some of these students have come in with. He gave us a number of 31 students that he's working with to make that happen so that they graduate on time. And he's got a process now in place in his school to make sure that there are appropriate meetings with families and students so that they don't get frustrated and get to a point that they need to withdraw. We all believe that a high school diploma is a valuable thing to go out into college or career. So
that's a state law that it's age dependent, not grade level completed?
as far as withdrawing, yes,
Parent
17,
consent at an age, that's a state law.
correct.
Okay.
Okay, next is the curriculum presentation.
Yes, and I am very pleased. As you all are aware, under the American Rescue Plan funding, we were able to address some of the deficiencies that we have in our curriculum writing. We have been working on curriculum for years, but we don't have a scope and sequence across the board for kindergarten through grade 12 in science, math, and English. And so this year we have fellows that came out of the classroom to direct that curriculum work. And I am pleased to introduce Patty Chenille. She's our mathematics curriculum leader. Laura Stefanski, she's our English language arts curriculum leader. And Lucy Trudeau, who is our science curriculum leader. And they're here to do a presentation tonight to tell you what they've been working on and what their goals are for the year. And we're going to ask that you use the microphone and you get close to it.
Okay, is this close enough?
Can we fix this one?
I can't see that. We can see it from here, but we can't see it. Got the same thing on this one. All right.
Okay, there we go. All right. So we've tried to put together a summary of what we're doing, where we've come from, and where we're going. We hope that we hit all of our high points. So we're going to take some turns here. So the history and the need. The previous attempts to write and revise curriculum have not been sufficient to yield.
Lucy, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you move the microphone down near your mouth? That way we can hear you.
How's
Thank
that?
you.
Is that better?
Better.
Okay. I'll put my paper up higher. There we go. I'm sorry. The previous attempts to write and revise curriculum have not been sufficient to yield a K through 12 curriculum that is planned, ongoing, and systematic. There have been partial successes. Resources have not been available to ensure comprehensive development, articulation, implementation, and monitoring of the curriculum. Student achievement results reflect the struggles the districts have had with underdeveloped and uncoordinated curriculums. Over the last 5 years, our district has made many attempts to provide support and work around curriculum revision. Some of the things we have done include unpacking the standards with representatives from EastCon, attending numerous professional development workshops on curriculum revision, hiring a part-time curriculum director, participating in discussions around curriculum revision, and paying teachers in the summer to write curriculum, but providing little to no feedback on that curriculum work. The opportunity. Hold on. Sorry. ARP and ESSER funds require that districts apply a significant portion of their grant funds to close achievement gaps. This is Thompson's best opportunity to address the curriculum deficiencies that have helped to perpetuate underperformance in student achievement. The timing of this opportunity coincides with the district's launching of the Portrait of a Graduate and renewed vision to be a high-performing district. That means it's now or never.
So just a quick overview of the curriculum leader position that we've been doing. A curriculum leader provides leadership and management of their academic area by overseeing and coordinating the curriculum, staff, and resources in their department. And this is essentially what we are doing this year. Teams of discipline-specific teachers have been created to coordinate curriculum writing and revision. These teams of approximately 15 total. We meet monthly to discuss standards, resources, pacing, and assessments, just to name a few. As curriculum leaders, we take these ideas to conduct an immense amount of research and continue creating working curriculum documents. We're also responsible for writing our own content-specific curriculum since we are, we have been 8th grade teachers. So the nuts and bolts of these meetings vary by content area and grade level need. So our focus is in 3 areas: curriculum development, vertical articulation, and creating lasting professional learning communities, which is one of our top goals. Curriculum development for this academic year, this will take the form of a completed scope and sequence, which is what is being taught and when it is being taught for each grade level in English language arts, science, and mathematics. And this is our main focus for year 1. Vertical articulation, which is the key academic concepts and skills associated with mastery, should be articulated and reinforced in a developmentally appropriate manner at each grade level so that over time students acquire a depth of knowledge and understanding in the core academic disciplines. And this is beginning this year, but is our main focus for year 2. Creating lasting professional learning communities, groups of educators that meet regularly, that share expertise, that work collaboratively to improve teaching skills, and the academic performance of students. And again, we're introducing this year, but it would be our main focus for year 3. So in English, for example, in English language arts, the main focus or our big focus is in writing, looking at how it's supported from grade level to grade level, aligning strategies and using common rubrics across all of the grades.
Much taller than I am. In science, our focus is embracing the next generation science standards model of 3-dimensional learning. So 3-dimensional learning includes disciplinary core ideas, science and engineering practices, and cross-cutting concepts. This provides the students opportunities to discover solutions on their own, and through the process, they really learn a lot more about the concepts and problem solving. And we will also be establishing the use of common vocabulary, increasing the amount of writing in science, and reviewing all courses to ensure that the standards are being met. I thought maybe you guys would like to know what these things are. So like cross-cutting concepts. That's exactly what's being portrayed right here. The sound is being moved from my mouth to you guys through using something involved in earth science, life science, and physical science, so that any concept they have goes through all 3 disciplines. The disciplinary core ideas are the fundamental ideas that are necessary to understand a given concept. In the science and engineering practices are what the kids are doing to understand the concepts.
I'll stand on my tippy toes. For the 21 and 22 school year, our focus is ensuring that priority standards are documented and that we are articulating them in an appropriate sequence. What does this really mean, or what does this look like? Rather than racing to cover topics a mile wide and only an inch deep, priority standards require us to significantly narrow and deepen the way our time and energy is spent in the classroom. We are going to focus deeply on the major work of each grade level so that students will gain a strong foundation, solid conceptual understanding, a high degree of procedural skill and fluency, and the ability to apply what they know to solve problems inside and outside of the classroom. With the work that we are doing with each of the teams of teachers, we are developing common vocabulary so that we can create a more fluid transition from grade level to grade level. Over the last several years, I myself have been involved in work on the Curriculum Council, which led me to do a little bit of research, and I discovered the U.S. Math Recovery Council. Last spring, I applied for a scholarship to become certified as a math recovery specialist. In the late summer, I was notified that I was a finalist for that scholarship. And after an interview process, I was granted a full scholarship for 1 year for the 2-year program. And this program is designed so that I will gain a high level of expertise in math recovery, content, assessment, and pedagogy. And it is going to train me to become a highly skilled practitioner where I will be able to pinpoint a child's struggle to learn and apply mathematics. This is something that the district has never had. The goal of the math recovery specialist is to intervene at the elementary level, catching those kids early and before they are at risk of falling too far behind, along with finding ways to support their parents and classroom teachers. How are we spending our time? We are providing much support to all of our teams of teachers. We are researching the best methods and participating in lots of professional development in completing this work. We are researching curricula from across the state and other resources to aid us in revising some of the things that we do have in place. We are attending meetings. We are attending the Regional Staff Development Council meeting, which is put out through EastCon, and we are sharing all of that information with our content areas, with administrators, to keep them up to date of what's being offered at the state level and mandates through legislation. We are also each attending our regional content area councils. There is a math council, an English council, and a science council. And that is usually attended, those council meetings, by a representative from the State Department of Education in each of those disciplines. So we are gaining lots of knowledge that we're able to share there as well. We have spent a considerable amount of time organizing resources that we currently have within the district and communicating what's available to the administrators as well as the staff at each of the buildings. So I wish that we had taken a before photo, but there was a room in the middle school that you could not even open the door.
Was a mess.
It was a real mess, and you could not even open the door. We spent a considerable amount of time, even over the summer, removing outdated materials, going through everything that was in that room, shredding things that needed to be shredded. We created a workspace for teachers. We're holding our learning community meetings there. We have organized all of the materials by subject area, including all leveled readers for science and English, classroom sets of novels, math manipulatives, textbooks, Common Core support materials, and we have cataloged everything. We have cataloged them and provided lists of what we have in that room and where they're located so that everyone can use them.
Thank you very much. Okay. The investment. The district has invested the grant funds into curriculum leader positions to advance the three major curriculum areas. And by using the grant funds, no other programs need to be reduced or eliminated. The ARP ESSER work needs to be completed by 2023, so the timeline does need to be aggressive.
The return on the investment. I could turn it. Students will experience an up-to-date curriculum that doesn't have gaps or overlaps and is aligned with both the portrait of a graduate and the standards that are used to measure student achievement. In concert with the utilization of high-quality instruction, state-of-the-art curricula can yield the improvements in student achievement that are targeted in Thompson. So we really want to thank you for the opportunity to explain our vision and the district's vision with you. We're finding this work very, very rewarding, and we are learning so much for ourselves that we are able to give to our colleagues. So we feel it's a very, very needed and worthwhile venture.
Thank you so much for that presentation. And good luck. Got a lot of work ahead of you. And thank you very much for taking on this project. Okay, I don't have a new agenda, but the new one does have. Okay. Okay, I'll now move to the administrator reports, and we'll start with Dr. Mayo.
All right, I'll make this brief.
Can you just excuse me? I want to mention to the student liaisons that you do not have to stay for the entire meeting unless you want to, this being your first meeting, but you can go home if you need to do your homework. You're at liberty to leave. Okay, Dr. Mayo, sorry to interrupt.
Not a problem. I'll make this very brief. On October 2nd, our high school chorus and modern music assembly led by Miss Kate Anderson performed at the Thompson Community Day. We felt it was an excellent event. Our students did a great job. Mr. Joyce and Miss Olette manned the high school tent, showcasing several important artifacts. Mr. Joyce and Miss Olette were joined by students who were on the leadership council. Everyone we feel did a great job. Ms. Tupai re-upped our partnership with Nichols College. She's busy forming the TMHS Financial Literacy Board, which is being made up of several different people, including some TMHS alumni. Isabel McGlynn, 9th grader, and Patricia Peterson, a 10th grader, are joining the Thompson Economic Development Committee and the Thompson Branding Subcommittee. PSATs are tomorrow. Our entire junior class will be taking the exam. We have homecoming Friday. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
One question. I see on the calendar, homelessness awareness. Where are we doing that this year? No. Do it where, well, it used to be up at Thompson Common and then,
Yeah, the soccer field.
okay, thank you.
Okay, Kim,
Kathleen, one thing
what? Yes.
regarding the homeless awareness, are you still looking for volunteers or anything?
I can reach out to one of my NHS, so Tony Sabansky and Joe Berry.
Okay, okay.
Good evening, everyone. So Thompson Middle School, working really hard in the month of September. We kicked off our PBIS. And thank you to Mrs. Hebert for coming and supporting along with Superintendent Smith. Yeah. Which was a fair judgment. The students worked all month on deciding a college that they chose. They also put together a banner that represented their college. The banners were judged on teamwork, creativity, presentation, and school spirit. We had a wonderful day, thanks to the high school band who cheered us on. We had all of the students congregate on the tennis courts, presented their banner, cheered each other on. And now we proceed with our Tiger Pride Points, and every month we will have an assembly to celebrate the winner. That's pretty much the highlight of the middle school. Thank you.
Thank you. Larry?
Good evening, everybody. Just a shout out to Mrs. Chanel, Mrs. Stefanski, and Mrs. Trudeau. They met with the elementary teachers at the end of September, and they were well received, got a lot of compliments from the elementary teachers, so keep up the great work. 3 really good individuals to work with, former colleagues of mine, just knock it out of the park. So well done. Thank you to former Thompson Public School student Lindsay Worcester for securing a Staples donation. In addition to Lindsay Worcester securing a donation, Mrs. Ellen Pratt also secured a donation from Staples. So thank you so much. And also great job to Mrs. Rossetti and Forteza for their performance at Community Day. Just a wonderful job for those students. And I agree, the sound could have been a little better, but they sung their little hearts out. So they did a nice job. And then finally, the voluntary walking school bus pilot program began on Wednesday, October 6th. If any of you are around at 7:30 in the morning, it starts at the corner of Route 200 and Route 12. And students in that area of town, Riverside Drive, from that corner to the school are escorted by Mr. Ben Barber of security, as well as Deb Mullen. And it's just a really neat opportunity for those students. And thank you to Mrs. Smith for securing that grant. And of course, to Ben Barber and his security personnel. And then finally, I didn't get to congratulate Braden Akana. Truly, I know it sounds cliche, but the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree in that respect. 2 wonderful parents did an unbelievable job raising both of their children. And that's what you get, just a wonderful student, former student of mine, and just a great kid. So have a good night.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prentice. Dr. Jones is not with us tonight, so I'll move right on to Mr. Birch. Update us on our facilities.
So we're in the process of tying up loose ends just about everywhere right now. The roof project has moved into punch list items, so that's just about done. The intercom system and the dust collector and the telephone system, which were funded through Alliance funds, those are all into punch list items. I believe the board is due to vote on those as being accepted this evening for accounting purposes with the state. We're still working on the security project. We had excavation work out there over the weekend and again on today. We did core borings on the track for that evaluation on Monday. Those were completed. So we are tying up loose ends on all those projects. The Turtle Out window project for the moment is probably about wrapped up for the winter months as the weather is turning bad. We expect to have the windows in probably in February or March. We can get back on that. You'll all be glad to know the clock is due back this week. So the clock masters will be back up in the attic, putting that back together. And I think that ties it all up. Last week, we did have failures both in the security system and the fire alarm system. Those have all been resolved. Those systems are both back working 100%. And I think we're in pretty good shape, at least for the rest of the evening.
Thank you.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Just one thing, on behalf of the Turtle Lot Trust, obviously, there's many things that go without a lot of just public awareness, but I will say, Bill, from the public, from the Turtle Lot Trust, we couldn't do it without you, and we really appreciate it, so thank you.
Any other questions for Bill?
I have a question.
Yes.
With the town doing the sidewalks, is in front of the school part of that project? I don't know if you're working with the town with that.
To be honest with you, I don't know if those sidewalks are included in the project or not.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Bob, I know it's early in the year, but where do we stand?
Well, it's a little early, but we're pretty close to, we're within a little over a point, a little under 2 points of where we were at year-to-date spending last year at this time. And considering it's pretty good shape. There are a couple of areas that we are taking a particularly look at. It is special ed tuition and transportation, but some of that is going to be reduced by bringing a couple of kids back into the district or back into Bradley when they're out of district, and we'll save about $20,000 per student bringing those kids back. The auditors are here. I had a 5-minute visit with one today to just go over briefly some stuff. I've uploaded most of the material that they need. All the material that they need. I've had discussions with them ongoing. I've spent a lot of time talking with them yesterday. And I think we're going to be in good shape. They think that they're just going to be here for a little bit on Thursday. And then they'll come back in the end of November to review the EFS, but we're in pretty good shape with that. I've got a workers' comp audit coming up that I'll basically all that is me forwarding the information based on worker comp codes. And the last year they made an adjustment that we ended up saving $6,000 after they did the audit. So that worked out well for us. And the cafeteria, year-to-date computed operating position, which is the number that the State Department of Education uses to figure out where you are. We're $37,000 in the black. But for the next 2 months, our grant receipts are going to be on the lower side because it covers the summer. So those will be lower than what we've had in the last 9 months. So I think we're still going to end up being in good shape there. And that's it.
Okay. Now, we do have a lot of money from outside sources because of the COVID, the American Rescue Plan coming in. We have some grants. We have and the Alliance money that we finally have allotted to us. And we have all these plans for this money. You have systems set up in place to track this money, that it goes where it's supposed to go.
Oh, yeah.
I know, I'm just reiterating for the benefit of the public that we do have a system in place to track this money, that it's going where it's going to go. So to allay anybody's concerns that, anybody who has concerns that this money is earmarked and it's going where it's going to go.
Yeah, and I can appreciate what you're saying. Over the last couple of years, I've actually expanded the way that we account for grants and its spending. It's a pretty detailed, it's a pretty detailed section of our budget, considering that the feds are going to be a lot stricter with, and you can see it coming from the State Department of Education. They are a lot stricter, but one of the things I talked to the auditor, who was one of the principals of the auditing firm today, and it's like, he knows that the way that I track grants is pretty good. And he understands that I'm one of those obsessive people when it comes to making sure the money's coming out of the right places. Melinda knows that I know where stuff is from. I have multiple sheets of multiple spreadsheets tracking all this stuff. I mean, we've got quite a bit of money coming in grants. We're talking, the ARP grant is over $1 million. And that all has to be tracked, and I have all the tracking for it, all the invoices outlined. When I converted everything to electronic invoices a couple of years ago during the beginning of the COVID, it made it so much easier to pull invoices for the auditors. They'll just say, here's a line, can you pull me all the invoices from this particular line, like 50690, and I can pull all 35 invoices for them within 3 or 4 minutes. So there's a lot of accountability within our grant system.
Could I request that the board have quarterly reports on those two?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That would be good. I'll do it for next meeting. I'll give you one.
Thank you.
Yep.
And Chairman, just so you know that nothing gets through to Bob until Danielle and I review it against the proposed projects that were approved for the grant.
I understand that, but I think the board would feel comfortable with receiving a quarterly report on the distribution of that grant. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Next, we have Ms. Spinelli. What's happening in the wide world of sports here?
Hi. Well, we are currently, we have this week and next week for middle school sports. We'll be finishing up middle school soccer. We're halfway through the high school season for soccer. And we've opened up registration for our winter sports at the present time. It's been, I'd say, a challenging year to get everything going as far as COVID, as far as the number of officials that are available, the busing issues that we've had, although our kids are loving it because they're going on coach buses to their games. They think they're great. So that's how they're managing to get to the games now. On the middle school level, because middle school officials, well, middle school will get whatever's left over, and if there's no officials for that day, then the game's not being played because the priority is high school level right now. So in order to help make sure that we get the games in, what we've done is for some of the particular games that we have, we've doubled up. So for instance, tomorrow, both the boys and the girls will travel to Brooklyn, and we moved game times up. So we play a back-to-back. And then when we reciprocate and they come here, we'll do the same thing, a back-to-back. We couldn't do that with all the opponents, but for the ones that we could, we've managed to do that. So that opens up. We have one official doing both games, so that opens up on the other side for somebody else to pick up the another official. So we've done that. It's also been helpful busing in that way. So we only have one bus for that going to that school instead of having a boys' game away and a girls' game away. We do it one shot. So we've done that throughout the league to help with the busing issues that we're seeing at every school. For the winter, We're not quite sure how that's going to play out right now. Right now, everybody's scheduled to go as a regular season. Mask will be worn. As far as spectators in the building, there hasn't been any change other than what we have outside. Everybody can, we have spectators. We don't know. Volleyball inside right now, we don't have that, but spectators are wearing masks, and some schools have limited the number of spectators that are going into their facility. We don't know how that's going to transpire into the winter. We haven't got any more information from the CIAC yet. They're doing surveys every 2 weeks about COVID and how it's been impacting our players in their play and how it's impacting the teams. So for instance, volleyball is an inside sport that the players have masks on and they have spectators in. So all these numbers that are coming in that they're collecting in the surveys, I think are going to make impacts in how they make the determination for what's going to go on in the winter. As far as spectators, we will be wearing masks. We know that. We played that way last year. I did contact Jeff Bolte. We do know for the high school, we will be live streaming the games again in case we don't have spectators in the building. So parents will still be able to see their kids play. So we don't know. We're waiting as far as what's going to happen in the winter. Questions? Okay.
Okay. Then Shannon, do you have any to add tonight? No? Okay. All right, then, hearing none of that. There is no old business. We're still.
Kathleen,
Yes.
there is old business that needs to be discussed. So in August, may I speak about that now, please? Can I speak about that now in August, what we discussed about Juneteenth, please? So we discussed that last month as old business and it keeps being pushed off. So I bring it again, Juneteenth, which is June 19th. It is in the custodial and secretarial contract. I did give the chair a copy of both contracts that do state any day declared as legal holiday or day or morning by the president or governor shall be granted as a day off with pay, providing schools are not in session. So I think it needs to be discussed because it was, an approved holiday by the president. And I just wanted to know how that gets put on next month's agenda to be voted on. Or discussed. Is it June 13th? I apologize.
June 19th.
No, it's June 19th, isn't it?
That's a matter for the unions for the superintendent to discuss, or the unions to come to the superintendent with, and I'm not sure that they have yet, have they?
They have. The union president for the custodians asked to add that particular holiday. I checked the secretarial's contract. It says the same exact verbiage that the custodians contract has. And so I did put it on the agenda for discussion a few months ago, and we decided to table it. Many other districts are in the process of adding Juneteenth as a paid holiday for those 12-month employees.
Kathleen,
It's June 19th.
And we need to.
19th, yeah.
Kathleen,
Yes.
a couple things. I've got a couple items on old business, but as far as the Juneteenth goes, weren't we also looking for a little information on how we would deal with it if we're still in school, things like that? So
Yeah, that's the only thing we can't predict, and that was the clause that's in the contracts, in both contracts, is that if school is in session, or if it's not in session, then we can grant the holiday. But if we have to be in session, then we have to grapple with that.
right.
And I can't tell you as I'm sitting here today what's going to happen. I'm praying for a nice winter, but we don't know. Remember that year we had 12 snow days. I think it was my first year here. So.
So a couple of things, one that we talked about last month's meeting and one at this special meeting. So at the special meeting, we were discussing testing and if we were going to look at alternatives for the teachers that are looking for testing as far as what Rhode Island has, what Massachusetts has. I just want to, be sure that we're at least looking at that because like I said, I felt like we dropped the ball waiting that long. And I don't think it takes a crystal ball to see that we're going to be talking about a booster mandate if certain people have their way.
I have information to share if you'd
So,
like.
okay, yeah, anything you got?
Can I share information about that?
All right, so I surveyed the area with the local superintendents regarding testing for staff. And the feedback I got from Eastford, Putnam, Woodstock Academy, and Brooklyn is they are not providing tests for employees. However, Pomfret is providing tests, but they started out by providing tests for all students. And so they have two programs that they're implementing, one that's being facilitated by Quest Diagnostics for their kindergarten to grade 6 students, which they are being tested weekly on site. They have 109 students, which is a third of their population, parents consenting to that test. And then they have another program through Affinity Empowering. It's also a grant-funded program, and it's for preschool students, and they only go up to grade 8, so 7th and 8th graders, and then employees. It's a self-swab sample, so the individuals self-swab. They do 2 samples, and it's a pooling test, which means that they sample a pool of tests to determine whether or not one is positive. Then if one is positive, they go into the individual tests. That's why they have to do 2, and then determine if there's individuals there. I have a phone conference tomorrow with a representative from that company to learn more about that. The one thing is that they've combined that with their student program. And so currently, we did survey our families, and 53.7% of our families said that they would not consent to testing, and 46% said that if we offered it, they would. And so I guess the question for the board is, does the Board of Ed want us to engage in testing for students? The reason that we have not provided the program on site is because Shannon and I did some research, and there's enough testing sites in our local area for students. But if we want to ensure that the 13 people who go out every week to get a PCR test has it provided on site, then we would have to link on to the student testing programs and do it more comprehensive-wise, district-wide. So, and then as far as saliva tests in the area, I have not been able to locate anything in the region, but I did not have a chance yet to look into nearby Rhode Island and Mass, but nothing within our area that's within, a good distance of an hour or more to get a saliva test. But really, the 13 people that are going out every week are just taking a PCR test. And if we brought the student testing program in under this Affinity Empowering program, which I have not talked to the representative myself, but I talked to the principal who's facilitating it in Pomfret. They haven't started it yet. They've had a lot of bumps along the road, but they hope to start it in the next couple of weeks for their employees too. They only have 2 employees that have to be tested weekly. We have 13.
So that was actually going to be my next question, is how quick could it be implemented? And the reason I ask that is, again, I think that we're going to see a bigger problem down the road than we have even right now. Just personally talking to people that I know, not even in the school system, outside the school system, and how they feel about a 3rd shot, even though they got the first 2. So I don't want to I don't want to be caught behind the 8 ball again. So I guess personally, I'd like to see as much information as possible, and how long would it take to hit the ground running if needed?
I should know that tomorrow.
Okay.
So Kathleen,
Yeah,
I do a follow-up to that, or?
sure.
So with the ESSER funds or any other grant funds, is there any way that we can allocate some of those funds to cover testing, or does that fall outside of any viable expenses for reimbursement?
You can, and that's an appropriate use of those dollars. However, under this Infinity Empowering program, apparently it's federally funded and it's covered. So if we can get the free testing through that program, it might be to our benefit.
That's Infinity?
It's called Infinity Empowering. I know nothing about it, except that it's one of the two programs Pomfret's putting in. I knew about the Quest program because Shannon and I discussed that. We heard a lot about it from DPH and CSDE. We made a decision that at this moment in time, we didn't believe it was necessary to test the students on site every week. However, if we feel it's important to also include our employees, then that's a discussion the board will have to have because it's kind of a twofer, right? We're going to test our students and then offer the 13 employees who need to be weekly tested to be able to do it on site. So I'll find out more about that tomorrow.
Melinda,
Yes, Jody.
just kind of paralleling that, I believe if you make a phone call to Commerce Insurance, the old MAP-free, they're actually using Affinity because my brother had used that as a home-based type of test, and that's the one that they use for all of their employees. So if you want to get some feedback on that, you could probably get in touch with their HR.
Okay, thank you. And then there's also, we've also had people step up who are RNs who are willing to donate their time to come and actually administer the tests if we needed to. The problem is that's great, but then what lab picks them up? According to Pomfret, they'll send a courier here to pick up the samples and take them back to the lab. And we are restricted too. We have to use a certified state lab. So Affinity does that and Quest does that. I think one of the feedback, I think originally the Quest program for K-6 was supposed to send their own personnel to do the testing, and now they're finding out that it's going to be an impact on their nurses. So I don't know how that's going to play out, but they are moving forward with it. I think October 18th for the K-6 students is when they're starting to do their testing. They were pretty excited that a third of their families wanted weekly testing. So.
Melinda, is this a PCR test or the rapid test?
I don't believe it's is it a rapid test when they do a nasal swab like that? I don't know. I know it has to go to a lab. Please? Okay.
So you said it's self-testing?
They self-swab, and then they said that they had to have people that are going to help the pre-K kids because they might not take a valuable sample. But as far as the adults, obviously, and the older students, that wouldn't be necessarily a problem.
Okay, Kathleen, now going back to last month's meeting, we had a lot of comments, especially on the chat.
Yep.
Talking about, they elect us to advocate for them. Excuse me, in that meeting at the time was mostly about the mandates. So I did reach out to May Flexer, Rick Hayes, and the governor's office. And May Flexer did return my call, and her response pretty much was, there's nothing I can do. I don't want to come and listen. And her exact words were, I don't want to be a whipping board. Rick Hayes did not return any of my 3 phone calls. And the representative at the governor's office, with a few other words, pretty much said what May Flexer said, which is, sorry, there's nothing we're going to do. We're not going to come out and listen to people tell us we're wrong. So that's, I reached out to those 3 entities, and as expected, Northeast corner of Connecticut is your representation.
Kathleen?
Yeah.
So as I brought up in the last meeting that we had about, it's fine if we want to do this testing or if we decided to do this, but are we looking at another nursing position? Are we taxing our nursing staff here? I know it's case by case when it comes up, but does that put stress on them? Just asking.
Well, I don't think we can put much else on the 3 nurses' plates. We have one really part-time sub-nurse that comes in and does us a favor when we're in a bind. We are still looking for some substitute nurses, which are like finding a needle in a haystack. And so to put on another nursing position, I don't think the budget could sustain that at this point. And I honestly hope that as the year progresses, the need for that will subside. But I imagine even the vision screening, I mean, obviously the nurses aren't going to have to do that, but there's some coordination they're going to have to do. There's some coordination that will have to be made around testing for the students, right? And that usually all falls on the nurses. So even that, it will be taxing. But if it's something we need to do, we'll get it done. But at this point, I can't see us advocating for another full-time nurse for next year. I could see us making sure that we have a pool of substitutes that I know we overlooked our HR director's update. And Michelle's back there in the corner, and she could probably provide us with some information on that.
Right, I know, so I apologize.
But we're all still not used to that position.
Good evening, everybody. So we are trying so hard to fill all of our positions. I have all of the positions on School Spring, CT Reap. I've used Indeed, I'm using LinkedIn, and I found a job, I'm sorry, I'm a little stuffy, a college job board called Handshake. And signing up for this Handshake, I got on to 15 different colleges and universities in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. So our jobs are out there. And I've talked to people, I live in Massachusetts, I live in Sutton, and I've talked to my friends who are teachers out there. I've talked to teachers in Millbury. I've talked to teachers in Webster and Dudley. And everybody is struggling to find substitutes. People are struggling to find paraprofessionals. Fortunately for us, we had 8 apply last week. So we're gonna hopefully fill those 3 positions. We do have some positions open. We have a resource teacher for grade 1. We have a kindergarten teacher with special education certification, which we would prefer because unfortunately we lost one of our amazing kindergarten teachers because of the mandate. We are trying. We are doing everything we can. Our principals have been absolutely amazing. They have reached out to their sources, their old resources, their old friends, their old colleagues to see if they can help fill the jobs. So I'm also working on transitioning workers' comp off of Shannon this week. So I'll be managing the workers' comp program, not only for the school, but for the town as well. And I'm also updating job descriptions as needed and as I go along with priorities for the directors, priorities for technology and the administrators. And I'm getting out in the school and I'm meeting everybody because I'm brand new to this position. I'm brand new to the town, to the school system. So every time a teacher emails me, I try to go out and meet them as quick as I can. I have gotten lost. I've ended up in this auditorium 4 times in the complete dark, trying to get back to the superintendent's office, but it's been amazing and I'm working very hard. I will have the information for all of the substitutes in the November meeting. All the information that you guys asked for last week at the meeting, I couldn't come to.
Sorry that I overlooked you.
I'm sorry?
Sorry I missed you.
You're fine, no worries. No worries. My husband was just texting me, are you still there? So thank you very much. And please don't hesitate to reach out to me either way in the town or in the school system.
Any other old business that anybody wants to review? I don't think we have any. I don't think Heather's on. Is Heather on Zoom?
Heather's on. Yeah, she's on Zoom.
I don't think she is. Those are the 2 texts up there.
No.
She's still on there. Heather, are you?
Oh, yes, she is. Okay, Heather.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't know the look you either.
That's okay. I am here tonight. Just a quick update. As Melinda said earlier, we are working on the October 1st update for PSIS. It's just a big report. We're updating student demographics and uploading them to the state, things like free reduced lunch, Title I, special ed. So Danette and myself are working on that. Travis has kicked off the esports program in the high school. He has 2 teams that he's overseeing and they're off to a really good start. I did a demo of Go Guardian for the high school staff And that's the program that they can use to monitor the student laptops while they're teaching. I've gotten some feedback. Some teachers are having a few issues, so we will work through those over the next few days. Hopefully get everybody up and running with that because the high school teachers are really excited to use that. And in this next month or two, we're going to begin installing a new server as well as various wireless access points throughout the district to cover some dead zones and upgrade older access points where we finally received all that hardware. So we'll be starting that soon.
And you got that through E-rate funding, correct, Heather?
Yes, correct. The access points were through E-rate.
Perfect. Very good. Thank you, Heather.
Thanks.
Okay. Right now, on to new business. Going to discuss the 2022 Board of Ed meeting dates.
My motion.
I looked at all these dates. And I didn't see anything wrong with the dates except for January of 2023.
Should be the 9th, not the 10th.
Huh?
It should be the
The
9th.
9th, yeah. Which we don't have to hand in anyway, so. January, it should be the 10th, 9th instead of the 10th. But all the other dates are fine.
You need a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the proposed dates as outlined in our packets.
I'll second it. This is Linda.
I have a motion and a second to accept the dates for the 2022 Board of Education meetings as amended for, I don't know why we put January 2023 on there anyway, but we can. For the 2022 calendar year.
Hold on, one correction. Is it the 9th or the 10th for January?
It's the 9th of January.
That's a Sunday.
Huh?
That's a Sunday.
No, 2023.
The one on the bottom.
2023.
This one.
Monday, the 10th of January for 2022 is fine. It's the 9th of
I
2023.
stand corrected and I go back to my original motion.
Right. Okay. All right. All in favor of accepting these dates, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions?
Abstain, Donna God.
Okay, 2 abstentions. Motion passes. Okay. All right, we now need to approve a couple of project completions. For our Alliance running the dust collector and the phone/intercom system. And then, Bill, is this for payment?
Actually, these were prepaid grants, so we use money up front. This is actually for the state's account.
Okay. So how should the motion read then?
The motion should just read the Board of Education accepts the projects.
Okay, so who wants to make that motion?
Building committee.
I'll make the motion that the board accept the completion of projects as outlined by Mr. Bill Birch.
I second.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to accept the completion of the project as advised by Bill Birch and seconded by Donna. Any discussion on that? Hearing no discussion, I'll put it forward for a vote. All in favor of accepting the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any objections, say no. Abstentions? Motion passes. Next, item C on the revised agenda is to approve the extension of the superintendent's contract.
I'll make a motion. We extend the superintendent's contract by 1 year.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the extent and a second to approve the superintendent's contract. To extend the superintendent's contract. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Say no. Any abstentions? Motion passes. I will write a letter to Bob tomorrow.
Thank you.
Hey, any correspondence? No correspondence? Okay, then I will open the floor again for citizens' comments. And then they're limited to 3 minutes. State your name and address. And get close to the mic, please, so we can hear you.
Good evening. My name is Kathleen Pellerin. Do you need my address? 476 East Thompson Road. I just have a few questions for you. I'd like to ask the board why teachers and staff who have received the shot to comply with the mandates are not required to weekly testing. When the shot is not 100% effective, those who do receive the shot are well aware that they can still get COVID and they can still pass on COVID. So if the goal is to protect the kids and staff, wouldn't you want the whole staff to be tested weekly? On top of that, on singling out those who have not received the shot, as of right now, those that come down with COVID have to take time off without pay. But those who have gotten the shot and come down with COVID are allowed to use their paid time off. So how is this not being discriminating? Are we opening ourselves possibly to the town and to the school for possible lawsuits down the road by discriminating and not treating everybody fairly across the board? While sitting here listening to all of these comments and what was going on, actually the news feed that I had was that New York has just passed that they must allow religious exemptions to vaccinate mandates for medical workers. And that was granted by a federal judge for a preliminary injunction. So I'm just curious, down the road, we might be faced with more of this. So I just would like you to consider all of those questions. I think that's it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Any further citizens' comments? We have the Zoom comment.
I don't know. I'm asking. I don't know. I can't see.
Can't tell.
Bryce, do we have any hands raised? No.
Yes, John.
So at the last regular meeting, we had a lot of comments come up during not only citizens' comments, but the chat, and we can't see the chat from up here. So I asked it get emailed to us, and I did read through them at home. And I know a lot of those people aren't on tonight, but maybe somebody that knows them are. And I was really disturbed by the comments. When we get elected, we all understand that people are going to get angry with us, and we're going to have to listen to, some rants at times. But up here, there's 9 of us, and we don't always agree with each other. But one thing I've loved about my 6 years on the board is that we debate, we disagree, we agree, we vote, we move on. And we're supposed to have different opinions. I certainly wouldn't want everybody to agree with me, and I don't want to agree with everybody. But when I hear that we don't care, nobody up here volunteered to get elected to spend hundreds of hours of their own time because they don't care about the kids or they don't care about the parents. Everybody up here cares. They believe they're doing what they think is in the best interest of the kids, of the parents, of the entire town. And so it's frustrating to hear we don't care. Complain, that's fine. Disagree, that's fine. But I just wish people would remember that we're all residents of this town. We pay taxes. We get upset at things that go on in town, just like you do. Just have a little bit of respect for your fellow residents when it comes to having disagreements. And it was something that bothered me. Again, we've heard it. I've heard it for 6 years. I'm not sitting here saying, woe is me. I have no problems taking the arrows, much better than my wife does when I get home from these meetings. But regardless of how much you disagree, we're supposed to have these debates, and they're, in my opinion, the school's better for it and the kids are better for it. So I just hope that people out there remember that everybody up here is doing what they think is in the best interest of the kids. So I just wanted to say that after last month's meeting.
Thank you, Sean. Yes.
Are we on board comments or are we still
Citizens.
doing? Sorry, so
Citizens.
just
Citizens.
go ahead, go back to the citizens.
Kathleen?
We don't have.
May I? I'm going to speak as a citizen, and specifically to Lauren. I really am sorry that you felt that you needed to resign. For years, you've been coming to these meetings, even with a newborn, you were coming to the meetings, and you're always involved and always polite. I disagree totally with these mandates, the vaccines and the testing. That's my personal opinion. And I feel like I'm letting people down because I feel like I'm handcuffed by these mandates. And you deserve better, and I wish you the best.
I'm going to say thank you to Lauren too. My kids absolutely adored you and I wish you the best on your future endeavors. Thank you for your time in Thompson.
We don't have.
Well, are we closing out citizens' comments going into board or just staying as is?
Pardon me?
There's no board comments.
We don't have board comments.
We got rid of those years ago. Mr.
Can I speak as a citizen then?
Yeah, of course.
There's your age again.
Yeah, as long as you state you're speaking as a citizen, yes.
Tom Angelo, 640 Fabian Road. I echo all the comments being made. And thank you to every staff member. It's definitely a difficult time. It's obviously pitted both sides, and unfortunately, there are some hardliners and there are some that, are not hardliners, but I just hope that we can find some peace in all of this and get back to a sensible community that, that I'm used to, which is a very caring, help your neighbor, et cetera, type of atmosphere. Just one question that I'd like to ask, and I'm not sure, and I apologize if I didn't understand the answer before, but is it up to the board to vote at a future date to use funding to pay for testing for vaccinated and unvaccinated staff? Or does that come down to a stipulation from the state that we are only able to use funding for vaccinated.
Well, first I want to see if I can get it through another federally funded program. And then if the board decides that we want to do that testing, the students are covered automatically under
Right,
both
students.
programs.
Yeah, okay.
And so then if there is a fee, then I will have to research what the fee is, bring it back to the board, look at the grants and see if we can rearrange funds to get that covered.
Okay, and I apologize if I didn't understand it
No,
correctly. So,
and I don't think I said that clearly earlier.
thank you. So can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Thank you. Again, Tom Angelo, 640 Fabian Road. The comment about paid time off use versus not being able to use time off for vaccinated or unvaccinated. Can we, I'm not looking for an answer tonight, but can we confirm that that is accurate? And if so, can we discuss that at a future board meeting?
That's personnel. I would recommend that we did that in executive session.
All right, that's fair.
Okay.
Thank you.
We can do that before our next meeting. Okay, Jody, did you want to say something? No, set, Donna? Oh, I know what you're saying. Okay. All right, then we have one more piece of business to take care of since Danielle? Well, we have two members of the board that are going to be leaving us in November.
Well, we might have just called them back for an executive session.
Yeah, I think we'll come back.
We'd like to present to you with plaques in appreciation for your 6 years of service to the Board of Education, to the town of Thompson. Donna Godzik. Thank you. And also Jody Houghton for your 6 years of service or servitude to the town of Thompson. A plaque in appreciation and some lovely flowers. Thank you. No, thank you for your service.
Thank you, ladies.
Yeah.
Was it something I said? It's like my neighbors are leaving.
No, I wish we had a bigger audience tonight because the people, the citizens of this town don't realize that the Board of Education, what dedication, we're volunteers, and there's a lot of work that goes into being on the Board of Education. Now, we don't meet just once a month. The subcommittees, like the policy committee, we all belong to numerous subcommittees. The negotiations committee, a policy committee, the budget committee. We attend our own budget workshops, and then most of us go to the Board of Finance budget workshops. It isn't just a once a month meeting. So there's a lot of work that goes on besides showing up for once a month meetings. So I do applaud these two lovely ladies, the wonderful women, for coming to our monthly meetings and giving 6 years of their lives to the Board of Education. Thank you so much. Okay,
thank you.
And with that, if there are no more citizens' comments, I will call for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second, Donna.